Hi friends, I'm Simple Batra here back from Simple Digital School today. All of you are really very good friends of mine through the YouTube. I'm more than happy to inform all of you that I have received so many good comments that I should work more upon system development, Python. I surely work upon them in the future, but after completing one series of videos, as we have already started up with the two series. One is digital marketing, another one is MIS playlist, which is for the BBA, BCom, MBA, BBA students majorly, right? But today we have another topic to be covered, which is, you can see on the screen itself, it is SDLC Model 2, which is the V-shaped model. As we all know that we have started up with the SDLC models or SDLC methodologies of system development, correct? So today we'll cover up another model, which is the V model. We'll talk about what are the specialities of this model, what are its advantages and what all are its disadvantages, and when to use this particular model. Now, before I move on for the lecture today, dear students, why we have such a elaborated lecture in Simple Digital School? Because whenever we are attempting the examination, we are supposed to write each and everything in the detail, right? We get marks only when we write in a very good manner. Now, why is it important to bring this V-shaped model? Because there were certain drawbacks in your waterfall model, which we have tried to cover up in the V-shaped model here, and in the coming up further models also, you will find many more things which will be covered of system development, so that a very well shaped system can be developed, which is usable for the end customer, which is usable for the organization and different levels of management equally, and catering the requirements of each and everyone within the company wherever it is being used, correct? So dear friends, do watch it till the end. This is lecture 18. For the rest of the lectures, you can go through the description box and SDLC model system development life cycle, where I have given a separate lecture, and it is one of the very important topic from the point of view of the examination. So do watch that video also. And we have types of SDLC models or the methodologies or the system development methodologies, which we are already studying, and today we'll cover up this V-shaped model. Customer can preview the system very late in the life cycle, almost in the last phase. This is very important to know what happens in the almost last phase. Customer can see your system which is developed. Now, once it is too late to see your system, that how it is developed, what are its functionalities and what all it is actually doing, it is too late to check it. It is too late to implement the changes in it. So the testing is possible only after the implementation is done. And secondly, testing is not possible until or unless the implementation is done. So once the implementation is done, then only you can go for the testing also. So once the implementation is late, system is delivered late for the customer, again testing will be delayed. Now the verification is done at each step by the project team members, but validation is not done. There is a difference between verification and validation. Verification signifies that whatever functionalities were specified in the SRS, are they given by your system or not? But validation says the testing of each and every requirement of SRS in the given situation practically, correct? So this is your V model. You can see its shape. It is completely the V structure. Now, on one side downwards it goes with the verification, and on the right hand side it goes upwards with the validation. What does this signify? It signifies very clearly that you have both verification, you have this verification as well as validation done parallelly with the development of your system. The major difference between the waterfall model and the V model is this: in waterfall model only verification was getting done, but in V model both verification and validation is getting done. That is why we call many times this particular model as a verification and validation model also. Correct? Now we can say that it is the expansion of waterfall model, because waterfall model was linear sequential model, and similarly here it is also a linear sequential model. Linear phases are being followed, but major differences here: testing is also done side by side in each and every phase. How this we'll see in the further slides. You can see here, this is your developer's life cycle. On the left hand side you have a developer's life cycle, and on the right hand side you have a tester's life cycle. On the left hand side you have a verification phase. On the right hand side you have a validation phase. Parallelly both validation and verification goes on. That is why many times we call it V and V model also. What is this? This is verification and validation model, right? So in the exam if it comes, what is verification and validation model? It is only the V model, right? Do not get confused. And one more thing, this is the common subject for system analysis and designing also. So you can see we are going downward. Number 1, here business requirement specifications are mentioned and system requirement specification both are mentioned. Basically they both are covering up your requirements phase. At a developer's side it is the business requirement specification and system requirement specifications which are completely made ready. These two documents are also made ready after the requirements phase is over, and at the same time parallelly acceptance testing and system testing is also done. For this the test plan is actually made ready here. In the coming up slides we'll talk about each and every phase in detail and their corresponding test plans which are made ready parallelly in verification and validation model. Now once your SRS and BRS are ready, that is requirements phase is over, both these documents are ready, high level design is made. This particular design, if you can see, this is your second phase actually, where system integration testing is done in parallel. Your high level design comprises of many designs for the architecture of the particular system which is to be developed for the particular organization. So many times we refer this phase also as a architecture design. This point of time here integration testing is done so that you can test that if the system is integrated, the various components are integrated, if they'll work in a smooth manner, in a cooperative manner or not. Again you have a second low level design which is also called as a module design, basically that is of a complete system. Each and every module is designed here. This is done only after the high level design is ready. Here component testing is done in parallel. Here coding is the next phase, and when the coding is getting done, that means various programmers are actually working on different platforms like Java, PHP, any of the language they have chosen, and the code is tested here in the unit testing. Here the code is actually tested for the bugs, for making it completely error free. To remove all such errors, you have the unit testing done here on the code. If you can see here, code is a common part here because code serves as a baseline of V and V model. Now, one thing you have to note here, for every phase the corresponding test plan is executed. In the waterfall model there was no validation which was done. Here you have a complete validation done step by step. Every level you have a corresponding testing done so that there is no bug, no error left in the end once the system is delivered or implemented or given to the final user. Correct? So I hope you will not forget V and V term. Now V-shaped model. The V model is also called as verification and validation model. It is the type of SDLC model where process executes in a sequential manner in a V shape. It is a sequential model only, but the order is V shape. You have a V-shaped model here. Each phase must be completed, that is development and testing, before the next phase begins. I am highlighting here this development and testing because they both go in the parallel, and at the development side you have a verification being done, and at the testing side you have a validation to be done. At every stage, test plans and test cases are created to verify and validate the product as per the requirements of that stage. You have test cases and test plans generated at every stage so that your product is properly verified and validated as per the requirements of that particular stage. Here you have development and testing both done in parallel. In the examination, 3-mark question or a 2-mark question comes up to differentiate between verification and validation or give the definition of these terms. V model contains verification phases on one side of the validation phases on the other side. As we have said that on one side you have a verification phase and on the other side you have a validation phase. Verification and validation phases are joined by coding phase in the V shape. That is why it is called as a V model. Code here serves as a baseline for joining both. Now verification, it involves static analysis technique, that is reviews done without executing the code. Here you are doing only the static analysis. You have your business requirement specifications, software requirement specifications ready with you, and a project team is simply reviewing those requirements. It is the process of evaluation of the product development phase to find whether the specified requirements are met or not. Validation, it involves dynamic analysis here. It is a dynamic analysis technique basically where we are checking both functional as well as non-functional requirements in terms of its testing. We are trying to do its testing, which is done by executing the code. Validation is the process to evaluate the software after the completion of the development phase to determine whether the software meets the customer expectations and requirements. Now when we talk about the phases of the V model, our first phase is similar as we had in a waterfall model, that is a requirements phase itself, where we have a business requirement specification and software requirement specification, and the same is also called as system requirement specification. They are gathered in the first phase just like in the waterfall model, but in this model before development it is started, a system test plan is created in parallel. On right hand side in the model, we start with creation of the test plans so that it can be validated side by side. So it is very important that the test plan is created here side by side. The test plan focuses on meeting the specific functionalities written in the BRS and SRS. And the test plan must focus that whatever is written in the business requirement specification as well as in the system requirement specification, that must be met. Now our phase 2, that is the high level design. Once you have a BRS and SRS ready and the test plan of the requirements phase ready in parallel, then only you can go for the high level design, which is your architecture design also. So this phase focuses on the system architecture and design. That is, complete system is designed here. It provides overview of the solution. Like the system will provide me the solution of how many problems of the particular company wherever it will be implemented. Again, the system is using which platform, which technologies for being implemented. correct, and the system in itself will show the complete overview of its functionality. That is, the design must focus on the overall system's working. Again, what all products and services will be given by this particular system which is to be developed, that is also focused in the high level design, and which process will be followed for the particular system to be implemented. That is, you have a designs here, that is DFD designs, data flow diagrams and all. Their interface relationships, dependencies, database tables, architectural diagrams, all are prepared here. In this particular phase, it is very important to understand the relationships of interfaces of the different modules. In a particular system, suppose we have got 4 modules, 4 different modules for providing different functionalities of the system. Now, how these modules will interact with each other, that is defined through their interfaces. That is why it is called as interface relationships. And dependencies, that what all dependencies the 2 modules have on each other. Again, you have a database tables which are to be designed here very importantly. Now, what are these database designs? Database designs have a complete storage of the data of that particular system. It will store the data about your customers, your employees, your products, whichever will be sold or manufactured, in stock or going out of stock, each and every detail. That is why in MIS you have a separate unit 2 on DBMS for knowing how to use the DBMS for system development. That is the logic behind unit 2 of your course. Again, architecture diagrams, there are so many diagrams which we have discussed in SDLC in the design phase. The same are implemented over here. These all designs, this is the part of verification on left hand side, that is developer's life cycle. Again, from here itself you have a complete integration testing for which the test plan will be created, and that would be implemented on the right hand side of your validation cycle. That is called as tester's life cycle. Right hand side you cover the validation of this particular phase of design phase by creating the test plans of integration testing. That is called as integration test plan. You can see here an integration test plan is created in this particular phase in order to test the components of the system in together to check either they work properly in coordination or not when integrated. This is very important, that all the components of a particular system once gets integrated, they must work in coordination and give the correct output whenever required as per the query of a particular user. A low level design phase, which is also called as a module design phase. This phase is where each and every component or module is tested. Each and every module of the system is getting tested here in isolation. In integration testing, we try to do the testing in terms of integrating all these components only. But here we are individually testing each and every component or module to check if there is any error or bug existing in any particular module. Here the logic of each and every component is defined very clearly, and class diagrams with all the methods and relation between classes are defined here in the low level design. Here basically class diagrams are mainly focused and component tests are created in this phase as well, which is also called as a unit testing. So we do here the unit testing basically on the right hand side on the validation side. Again, the implementation phase is again where all the coding takes place. Once coding is complete, the path of the execution continues at the right side of the V, where the test plans developed earlier as now put to use. Basically, what it is trying to say is coding is complete here. in the implementation phase, the complete code is ready, and on the right hand side, whatever test plans were being made ready, now they are put into the use to completely check your system, its coding and its each and every module and everything here. Now coding, this is at the bottom of the V-shaped model. Module design is converted into the code by the developers. Unit testing is performed by the developers on the code written by them. Here major focus is the coding, because system is entirely dependent majorly on the coding, how it is being done. So here the developers work, and the designs which were developed in the low level design, module design, they are converted into the code here actually. So these are all the phases. Now we'll talk about the advantages of the V model. It is basically simple to use. If you can see, it is very simple to use, because verification, validation, they are getting done in the parallel, and you have a complete linear sequential model as you have a waterfall models expansion only. Testing activities like test plans and test cases are created before the coding. This saves a lots of time, because in parallel test plans are getting ready as per the need of each and every phase. For testing, basically it is a complete subject, that how the test plans are created. There are different methodologies of creating the test plans also, and they are to be studied in depth. If you are a student of software development or you are a student of BTech CSC, right? For MIS students, you must understand this much only, that you have test cases and test plans developed in parallel here in the V model for every phase. Now, due to verification and validation done in parallel, higher chance of success over the waterfall model. Surely this can be better as compared to the waterfall model, because here validation is getting done. So there are lower chances of being failed. Proactive defect tracking, that is, defects are found at the early stage. Since you have various test plans getting executed at the different phases, right, you have a less chances of having bugs in this particular model if used for the system development. It avoids the downward flow of the defects. Definitely, at every level, when you have the defects diagnosed, corrected, then there are less chances of their flowing in the downward phases. Works well for the small projects where requirements are easily understood. So for the projects where the requirements are well understood, you can use the V model well, because the requirements are the baseline of this model also. Every model has its own pros and cons, but as a good system developer or a software developer, you must understand the basic requirements of a particular organization who is approaching you to develop the system for them. Now, disadvantages of a V model: it is very rigid and inflexible model. Why? Because once you have all the phases getting executed one after the another, after the sequential way which is followed, and which is linear approach also, we have said it is a linear sequential model, but the testing is done side by side. Again, you cannot go back here also and change the requirements, so it is rigid and inflexible. So you need to be careful about each and every phase. Software is developed during the implementation phase, so no early prototypes of the software are produced. This is very important term here, prototypes. What is a prototype? Prototype is a working model which can be given to the user before delivering the final system to the user. Correct? So the user cannot see the prototype or the working model of the same system and cannot actually check that how the system will look like after being implemented. Does not handle easy the dynamic changing requirements. Very important point. It does not handle the dynamic changing requirements. What is dynamicity? Dynamicity means where anything can be changed at the run time. In this model, we can talk only about such situations where requirements are static, they are pre-decided and they are less likely to be changed. No dynamic changes in the requirements will be taken care of. Does not contain risk analysis activities. Here no risk analysis is done. Risk analysis is majorly covered by the spiral model, which we'll talk in the future. Now the last topic for the V model, when to use the V model, which are the situations where you should opt for the V model. The V-shaped model can be used for small to medium sized projects where requirements are clearly defined and fixed. As we have said that it can work only upon the static requirements very well. Dynamic changes in the requirements cannot be taken care by the V model. But better to use it in the small to medium sized projects only. The second situation is the V-shaped model should be chosen when ample technical resources are available with needed technical expertise. It means it is very important that the technical resources must be available beforehand when we go for the V model, and there must be people who have a very good technical expertise to handle in parallel both verification and validation. So I hope with this V model you can understand very well. So those who are new to the channel, if you like it, then do subscribe the channel, do write in the comment box, and do tell me if you want me to come live and take up your queries in the future. Let me know in the comment box. I'll surely work upon the same also. See you soon back. Have a nice time. Stay blessed. Stay happy. Stay healthy. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Take care. And next lecture will be evolutionary prototyping model. Thank you.